Alrighty, so I just wanted to get you guys that video of some of the stuff we're doing. Obviously, I don't have the one on my machine that I had earlier, so the normal map's not there, but it's not a big deal. We've already got a video for that. So I just really wanted to reinforce things like glow maps and metal maps and all that stuff. Alright, so in this case, remember what we want to do is we want to go to the little kind of red guy down here, because that's going to be our material stuff, right? In this case, I think I need a new material. Let's create one, and we can call it, light, wall light. There we go. All right, and then of course we're going to start with the color map. So we just go to color dot, and we go to image texture, and there we go. And of course we want to create a new one, so we go to new, and we can name it whatever we want. So we can call it just wall light. There we go, or light color. We'll just do 1024, should be fine. Alright, and there we've got a color map plugged in. Now of course we can go to our fill bucket, right? And we want to make sure that the currently highlighted texture is the wall light. So remember, we want to go in there. And remember, you just go to the wrench and screwdriver, and that's got your brush properties, right? And so we can easily just kind of pick a color for that fill bucket if we want to. I'll switch to color here. There we go, kind of get a mid-gray. And then we flood paint it, right? And that gives us our good starting point. Now, of course, at this point, we could easily do some color painting down here because we've got our color map started. Remember, you're going to want to do things like image, save, right? So I can easily, just save this wall light. There we go. Come on. There we go. All right. And of course, remember, you always want to go to File, External Data, make sure to automatically pack in the Blender file, right? And that way, whatever you're working on is kind of saved in there with it. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go back to my regular paintbrush. And we can easily turn our color back up to, kind of say white. And we can easily go to, say, texture right here. And new. And in this case, remember, you have to kind of usually go down to the red checkerboard down here to kind of load it in. So we can just go to open. And then I could always go find some texture somewhere, right? Like maybe some fabrics. There we go. I can find some kind of fabric. Let's see here. Try thumbnails. There we go. And what do I want to use? That'll be fine. Okay. All right. We can of course load that in, and then of course we want to make sure to switch our texture view plane to stencil for this one, right? And then of course, remember. Right, there we go. So remember, what you could do is you could, of course, hold down Shift left mouse button to move. Actually, Shift. Remember, right mouse button for you guys. I actually switched mine to Shift left mouse button. Remember, right mouse button, and then. My bad. Switch back to stencil. Make sure the texture is loaded in. Come on, there we go. There we go. All right. So remember, Shift. What is it? I want to say right mouse button, of course, will rotate. Actually, Shift right mouse button I think will scale, and then Control right mouse button will rotate. So just keep that stuff in mind, right, for how you're working on stuff, right? So remember, it's all right mouse button, and then you can right mouse button move, Shift right mouse button to scale, Control right mouse button to rotate, and then you use paint, right? In this case, clearly I don't have the UVs properly set out on this one. So I'll probably want to have to do that really quick. That will be pretty easy though. So I can go to the UV editor. I'm already in face mode, Control A, and we can just do a quick unwrap on this one. So that'll actually get us there pretty quick. All right. I mean, of course, we can see that you can just paint exactly the texture you want, right? It can be whatever fabric, something like that, right? So then, of course, we can go up to here, and I can just turn the X off, right? Now, if you were to have, say, like bPainter, right, which I do have for my stuff, you see it comes with full browsers and everything like that, and you can load in folders. You got your brush presets up here, a full layer system down here. And that's one of the great things about vPainter and what it adds to your overall functionality from painting. So in this case, what I want to do now is I really just want to kind of create some other map types. So we go back to the red sphere, and what we can do is we can go down to metallic, and in this case I'm just going to turn metallic up. Make sure to turn the scale on so you get your proper material preview with Eevee. We see as we turn our metallic up, we can see it becomes kind of more and more shiny, particularly if we were to say turn down roughness, right? But in this case we actually want to create a roughness map, right? So we can click on that dot and find your texture stuff, right? You might have to go up or down, right? There's these, you'll notice that if you move to the top of the windows, there's these little kind of triangles that point down. You can kind of move those up and down. But we want to find image texture again. And there we go. Now in this case, I usually go to shading just to make sure that it plugged into the right area. Sometimes it'll plug the alpha channel, right? You see how it kind of plugs this alpha channel into the roughness. We don't want that. We want the color channel. So let's grab color channel, plug that into the roughness, and that'll work better for that. All right. And now, of course, what we can do is we can go to 3 for face mode, and I could easily just grab some bases, right bracket for select linked, right? And then, of course, we can hit 8 for texture painting in, and we can turn our paint mask on. And we can easily go back to fill bucket, right? And in this case, I could easily go back up to my wrench screwdriver, and I could pick a different color for this. Let's say I think white will actually work for this. And actually, we're still on the color map. That would be the other thing too. Go up to here. Make sure to save that map too, right? So we'll save all images. Why am I not seeing that? Let's see here. I think I undid that too far. Go back in here. No, roughness. Oh, I didn't make a new. I plugged one in, but I didn't make a new one. My bad. Roughness. There we go. And now that should be properly there. All right. And now we'll see that there should be, particularly once we make sure that this one's set to roughness here. And we can save, right? We can save that. There we go. And you'll see now we see both of those textures in here. Wall light, if you want to switch to color, wall roughness. And then, of course, we could flood paint that with white. Remember, white versus black can be interchangeable. Sometimes it can be a little different in your Blender files, depending on what it is. So if you do black, expect it to be off. Usually that would be the case. Sometimes it's the inverse, right? So in this case, white did a good fill-in for us. And now what we could do, of course, is we can go to, say, 2 for edge mode. And, of course, I could double left click to select this edge loop. And we go to the select menu, select loops. And see I've got a quick key for it, Z for inner region. That selects that inner region for you, right? And, of course, we hit 8, right? So that was just 2 for edge mode, 8 for texture mode. And the nice thing is this was on from last time. So you can actually swap back and forth while leaving that on. And then we flood paint that. And now we can see that we've got metal just on this. And we can do some other stuff right here, like a glow map if we wanted to. So in that case, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to maybe go to image, save all images really quick, Control S to save scene. Then we go back to our blue, or sorry, red sphere here. And we can scroll down to emission, right? Now, because we're working 2.91, we have emission strength here also as well, which is great. So I'm going to click on the dot for emission, go to image texture, and then we're going to go new, call this glow, and you can call it like wall light glow or whatever, but I'm just going to keep it simpler. Glow, there we go. And now that's plugged in, and of course if we go back to our wrench screwdriver, you won't probably see it there quite yet, because we need to usually save it. So if you go to here, you can kind of find it there. You can always save it really quick just to make sure it gets saved as your actual glow file. And then you'll see it's available here. So remember, you can go in here and save and switch around for whatever you're painting on in there. And in this case, we can pick a color, like say a bright yellowish. And then, of course, our fill bucket's still on. And we could fill that in there, right? So that gives us something much better to work with there. Remember, if you go back down to your red sphere, you can actually turn up your emission strength, right? So we can actually turn this up a lot, you know, say like 15 or 20 or something like that. And there we go. Now remember, if you go to your little kind of briefcase microwave kind of looking thing here, you can turn bloom on, and you can open up the bloom controls, and you can just turn radius down, so you still get that kind of nice little glow off of it, but it doesn't have to be quite as spreading out as much. All right. So at this point, we really have all the map types we want. I can turn this off, and what I want to do is just kind of paint over kind of that bad stuff we had there. So I can go back to color, right? Let's go image, save all images, so every image gets saved. Control S, hit scene. And remember, you can go in here and you can actually go to texture, and I'm just going to load in that fabric again. I don't really matter, but it could be a metal, right? And instead of using stencil, you use viewplane. Because remember, what viewplane will allow you to do as we go in here and paint, I'll turn my paintbrush on. I have to kind of switch that because I turn it off for the fill bucket. You'll notice it'll go in here and it'll paint that and just kind of keep dropping it in there as a texture. So it kind of stamp drops it in there, right? Remember, if you need to, you can go to stroke and you can turn the actual spacing for that up or down, right? It's just as long as it's the method space. And remember, this will basically allow you to kind of just paint in this image in a very different way, right? You see how it kind of keeps just dropping that same image down, stop, drop, 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 instead of just allowing you to paint the whole image. It basically just kind of keeps stamping down just right where the brush is at. And depending on how big the spacing is, it'll actually give you more space in between them. So this can be a great way to kind of add a little bit of noise. In this case, I got a little too much color going on there from other parts. So let's get that. What the heck did I do there? Let's make sure that that's set back to white for the paintbrush. Come on. What do you do? All right. And I must have turned this all off. Lovely. I think I undid too far back. There we go. So, and of course you saw that the actual yellow color can tint that, right? So, just kind of reminders of how you can do some of those things, right? How ultimately you can take and create glow metal maps, even use viewplane instead of stencil to paint a different kind of texture pattern, but using an image, right? Much better for kind of randomized noise textures. If you want to paint exactly something, stencil is usually better, but if you want to kind of just add some noise with the texture from a texture, the viewplane can be better. All right, so that's kind of just that for there. What I wanted to do now is I just want to remind you guys of how to use append, right? So I can always go to File, Open, let's save modified image. So it'll usually if you go to close something, it'll prompt you. So I can open the room up. Come on, I'm gonna go back to Layout. And remember, what you can do to load stuff in is you can go File, Append, and then you can just go find your other models, like this one right here, Append. Now, it'll bring up this, right? And I've got it set to the that, so I'll switch back to here. Open up Mesh, open that up, and there's your table. And of course, we can hit R for scale. We can start to scale this down a lot, right? Let's not inverse it, though. There we go. And of course, we can place it. Remember, if you turn this on, you'll be able to see the actual full texturing. In this case, I don't have anything loaded in, so that's kind of where, keep in mind, if you actually had some texture on these things, I'm working for my ones at home, right, you'd see that stuff on there. And then, of course, we can go File, Append, and we can load some other stuff in as well. So I can go back up a couple, and I can go up to Chair, Append, Mesh, load in that mesh, and there's our chair. And this will allow you to load everything in, and whatever work you've done will be on there. Any textures, particularly if you're using the external data feature, that will be in there. All right, so I just kind of wanted to make sure to get you guys to see kind of all the basics of that again.